Sign in, please. The one on the left. Thank you.
Elizabeth, your article on the burning of Midstation has such a nice ending. Down at the water, the booming
Oh.
cannons.
Yeah, oh, thanks.
It was very New Yorker.
Mr. Malloy? Mr. Moore, we're going to move you to the middle row until the students are done.
Oh, okay.
You'll be after them.
All right, that's fine.
Didn't know it was a sign.
Paul's been here since,
Yeah,
what,
exactly.
7 a.m., Paul?
What's that?
You've been here since 7 a.m.?
Oh, yes.
Okay, we'll reconvene after the, is, all set to go? Okay. Next on the agenda is the safety planning, the safety plan hearing. This is a formal hearing, as you can read in board docs, required whenever we revise our district's safety plan. There are 2 safety team meetings, additional meetings, and I've reviewed the district safety plan. We're now prepared to have this hearing to review those changes and to hear any concerns or questions. Dr. Catania, would you like to review these changes?
Sure. So this is really focused on the district safety plan. As you know, we have emergency response plans at each school. The public hearing and the board vote is really on the district plan. The district plan leaves out a lot of very specific information that's not meant to be public. But essentially, the district safety team met twice in the fall. The individual school safety teams met also in the summer and in the fall. And overall, what I would say is that the district safety plan only had modest changes since last year. In a lot of ways, this year was sort of a year of coalescing and making some, maybe doing some fine tuning to some of the procedures at the school levels, not really at the district level. At district level are big ideas. The changes that we made 2 years ago, we want to stick with. At the school levels, they're more focused on communicating that plan to staff and students. And that process has begun and moved along in both schools, probably a little faster at the elementary school than at the middle and high school, but certainly moving along at both. So the overview of the district plan is that it's really very similar to last year's, with just some minor changes to the particular people involved and just some of the details that tend to change over time, phone numbers and those kinds of things.
Is this a document that's evolved over time?
So it does evolve over time, I would say there were some major changes made 4 or 5 years ago, and then there were some major changes made 2 years ago. This year, not so major, the changes. Probably the most significant change in the last couple of years has been a shift in the way we are looking at lockdowns. The lockdown procedures have become more flexible, provided people with more information, more communication, more options, giving people a little bit more decision-making depending on changing circumstances. Because the original lockdown, the original procedures that were in place always assumed one and only one risk being involved. And what all the information shows and what our experience has been is that there is no one singular way that there could possibly be risk. There's a number of different ways, and so sometimes it's really important that people are aware of what's going on, thinking about it, and provided with some opportunities to make some decisions, to make some changes. And so that's the stuff that we're working through right now. But that change to that approach really was more put in place a year or two ago.
Me too.
Does anyone have any questions? Any other questions from the board? Good. All right, I'll adjourn the hearing then. Thank you. Next on the agenda is for the good of the cause. The good of the cause is Board of Education encourages public participation in school-related matters at these board meetings. To allow for public participation, a period not exceeding 30 minutes has been set aside at the beginning of the board meeting for such activity. Persons wishing to address the board should please state their name, brief description of the topic to be discussed, and each person must sign in on the meeting sheet. Presentation should be brief, as a general rule, around 5 minutes total per speaker. Discussions involving individual district personnel or students is not allowed, and presentation should be directed to the board president. This is not a time to receive answers to specific questions or expect feedback. Anybody here to speak before the board? If not, I read that all for, no, that's okay. Okay, we'll go right on to the reports of the board. The first report is actually, it's under the reports, it's actually a presentation by the high school student liaisons, the student council. According to our policy, the Board of Education meets periodically with student representatives from each school in order to allow the students to express their views, exchange information, in hopes of broadening the board's base of information. Dr. Cadandia, would you like to take the lead on this?
Sure. Let me start
Okay.
by saying that even though we have one policy, we tend to arrange the student liaison discussions differently depending on circumstances and which school we're working with. So I wanted to make sure that you know that this discussion of the students that are coming in today, unlike in past discussions, are representing the student council. So I don't think we've ever really had the student council or representatives of the student council come and meet with the board in this way. We've had usually some other kind of mixture of students. So what you're seeing is representatives of the student council. Their advisors are here also. I'm going to introduce the advisors. I'm going to ask the students to introduce themselves. I think it's also important at some point today that the board introduce yourselves, because students don't always have an opportunity to speak with board members. They don't always know who board members are and what they do. So I think some kind of introduction would be welcome. But just a quick introduction about the student council. For many years we have had, I would say we've either had a student council that didn't accomplish much, or we had no student council. And so last year, thanks to some eager and enthusiastic students and some eager and enthusiastic advisors, the high school decided to work hard on re-energizing the student council. And so this year we have that group. We have a group of energized students who want to represent themselves and to do so in a way that matters and is meaningful. So I'll let them do all the talking, but I just want to start by introducing their advisors. So in the second row is Alan Robinson. Alan's one of our art teachers, and you're one of the advisors of the student council. You started that last year, yes, Alan?
Yes.
Right, middle of the year, I believe, right?
That was spring.
Spring, yeah. And then in the back row is Connie Hammaker. Ms. Hammaker is the high school counselor, and she and Mr. Robinson jumped into this also sometime in the early spring last year.
Yep.
Right, okay. And did I do a pretty good job of introducing how the student council is trying to re-energize?
Yes.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, good. Also in the back is Tammy Casey, who's been working closely as the high school principal with the student council. So there you are, Tammy, right. And then I'm going to ask the students to introduce themselves. So why don't you three take it away? Thank you for being here. We're really glad you're here. Please introduce yourselves, and then we'll get started with some questions that I know that we've shared with you, sort of the general outline of this.
Roger, do you want us to go around too?
Why don't we do that too? Yes. Why don't we start with the students, and then we'll go to the board, and then we'll start with some questions.
I'll go. So I'm Dylan Bashaw. I'm in 11th grade and the secretary of the student council. And it is quite nice to have started the student council because all these kids from like different grades and stuff go, so it's just a good conversation and you get a lot of inputs and it's a nice time. So.
My name is John Brownell. I am also a junior. I'm the treasurer of my class, and I'm happy to be here and express my opinion on a few things. So thanks for having me.
My name is Samuel Lee, and I'm a representative of the student council. And I'm just honestly just happy to be here, just to meet all of you guys, to know the ones who's behind the board of our school. And I'm here to express my opinions and such.
Great. Well, I'm Jeff Brownell, and the three of you do know me, and I've been on the board for, I think, 5 years now. And so we've seen a lot of things develop and change over time, but it's great to have you guys here, so thank you for coming in. It's great, really like to hear from the students. That's why we're here.
Great. I'm Colleen Locke. I've been on the board for about 1.5 years. I'm a native of Lake Placid, also an alumni of the school, and I'm a teacher by background and a business owner, and I just love volunteering my time for you students.
I'm Martha Spear. My son is Joseph Spear, who's in 6th grade, and this is my 2nd year on the board.
Dan Marvin, 3rd year on the board. My son's in class with all 3 of you. We welcome your opinion.
Rick Preston, I believe this is my 8th year or 7th year on the board, 2nd year as president. In my real life, I'm a director of rehabilitation and sports medicine, and really look forward to conversation with you, getting to know you a little better.
My name is Liam Kennelly, and I graduated from my class at Central School in 2000. I was the president of the student council, and I think we were pretty active, so I'm really happy you're here. I'm wondering where the president is, though.
A sports thing.
She had a basketball game.
Yeah.
Okay, he's got an excuse.
Roger Catania, superintendent. I think I know you guys.
Karen Angelopoulos, administrative assistant to the superintendent and board clerk.
All right. So again, welcome. Glad you're here. We outlined some questions for you, so I think I'll start with the first and let you answer it however you'd like, and then we'll move through. And so it's a little bit of structure, and then we'll loosen that structure for anything you'd like to follow up with. So why don't we start with the first question, which is, what's the most rewarding part of school for you? We like to start with the positive.
Well, I feel like there's, in comparisons to other schools that I've been at, because I've traveled to other high schools for Science Olympia and for some other sports, our school is, I don't know, we express our creativity of our students pretty well. If there's art on the walls, there's sculptures when you pass by the office. Usually around Christmas time, there's some sort of musical group made up of our own students that performs in the foyer at the beginning or the end of the day. And overall, what the students create, and we all benefit from it, and it's kind of great to see our fellow peers, doing all that cool stuff. So that's pretty neat. There's some other things, but I don't know. Do you guys want to?
For me, the most rewarding part of school is that everyone's very inclusive with each other. There aren't really shown cliques or something of the sort, and generally everyone just gets along. And adding to that, I also appreciate how our teachers just care so much about us, and that personally, that gives me the drive to even work harder to return the favor, such.
I would say when you succeed in something, because everyone's so close and like teachers are all friends and like you are friends and you feel close with the teachers, when you succeed in something, it brings it a bigger purpose because it's like you work hard for something and then everyone's there and it's not only you succeed, it's everyone else succeeds, so it just brings like light to the school.
Thanks. I want to go on to the next question unless you have anything to add. Okay, so the next question is sort of a different one. What would you say is the most challenging part of school for you?
Well, personally, you know, I'm kind of swamped with AP classes, so that's nice. Another challenge is kind of like, I don't know, in my opinion, there are clubs, you know, and there are things you can do as an extracurricular activity, but being honest, most of them aren't incredibly fascinating, and if you look at them individually, you can see that most of them don't really have a lot of you know, members, just because, you know, they lack a certain ingredient that makes them, you know, popular, or maybe not popular is the right word, but something that students would want to be a part of. I mean, two clubs that we've had in the past, you know, robotics and Science Olympiad became classes because of their popularity. So I mean, I feel that those are kind of the gold standard. But moreover, you know, we feel as though, I don't know, there should be a little bit of something that spices the school up a little bit, whether it's through clubs or, you know, through other activities that aren't really given at this point in time.
Personally, from what I've seen around the school, the most challenging part isn't really much of a challenge in my opinion, but it's just like I'm just regretful that the school or the students of the school aren't as passionate as they were before. Like compared to, I don't know, say around 2016-ish, like all the seniors, all the juniors, and just about the entire high school, and everyone in it were just, they loved their schools, everyone went to each other's games for sports, and just by comparison to now, like barely, maybe like, I don't know, a few people go to support each other, and now that's about it. And most of the time their like excuse or the reason why is that, oh, it's just too much time, or I'm too like busy, I'm too busy, but I just honestly don't see them that valid. Yeah.
Yeah, and I hope I'm not contradicting what I said before, but I would agree with Sam 100%. Like, just to be frank, no one in the school, like, as in students, like, care. They don't care about really anything, so it's hard for when you want to do something fun or, like, different to get people excited and actually do it, because there's just not really any, like, spirit or any want to do something that's just not, like, their everyday life, I guess.
Yeah, just kind of going off what Dylan said, the school spirit at this point in time, I mean, in some grades it's larger than others, but for the most part it's pretty low. I wouldn't say non-existent, because there definitely is school spirit. I mean, come winter carnival, like, you got people wanting to really win. But, you know, then again, it's not sad to see it, but it's kind of like, it's not as fun because, you know, it's not there. And I feel that school spirit really amplifies the high school experience and makes it overall better. I feel that there are ways that the students would be able to, you know, they'd be able to boost the school spirit through activities that at this point in time, we're kind of unable to do because there are certain restrictions that, I don't know, kind of limit our ability to do fun things. But other than that, I feel that our school spirit is kind of maybe on the rise, because after the creation of the student council, you know, we've kind of discussed it, and the people in student council are kind of, you know, building each class individually and in the student population in the high school as a whole. And they're building it up and making it so that, you know, high school's a little bit more enjoyable, because at one point we did kind of have a slump, and now we're kind of back on the rise, but it's still a little bit, it's not as high as we want it to be.
It's a bit iffy,
Yeah.
I could say.
Yeah, we're kind of just, we're like telling people to be happy to be there, so
Yeah.
like we're showing that we're happy to be there to get like, to get them happy, so it's like better. They want to like do things like Hall Week and stuff, just so you have something fun to do that's easy and still, I don't know, just a good time.
Yeah, and also, in a way, the school day and just kind of school in general, I feel that, you know, without activities that boost school spirit, because I feel like that's one way to boost school spirit through activities of the entire, you know, student body. You know, Winter Carnival is a very good example. You know, you have each class competing against each other, and that really does boost the morale in students and in classes as a whole. I assume that's why it's put in the middle of the year, just because, you know, at that point everyone's just kind of like dragging through the day. But I don't know, I feel right now, maybe as of recently, maybe in the last couple of years, the school's kind of gotten to a little bit of a rhythm. When I say rhythm, like I mean like a cycle, you know, and maybe it's not really a great cycle because it's really repetitive, and at certain times repetitive can be seen as boring. I don't know, I feel that if we kind of broke that cycle, it would be a little bit more fun, and there would be a little bit more school spirit and a little bit more morale. I mean, for instance, like there's, when the Army recruiters and the military recruiters come in, it kind of is like, whoa, a new thing. So it kind of makes it a little bit more interesting when those guys come in, and to say that it's kind of like, oh, that's, there's room for improvement, so.
So maybe I'll just follow up on what you guys have been saying, and you've already sort of started down this road. You've been talking about things the student council could do to improve things. What other ideas do you have for ways that we, all of us, could improve, make the school a better place?
Well,
Honestly, the tough part about that question is, even if we, like, as we said before, if we come up with a solution or an event to help, we're trying to get people involved in that event is very, I don't know, like taxing. It's almost like we're forcing them to come, and by that point, it defeats the whole purpose of the event.
yeah, we need something that's appealing to students, and we did have Hall Week the last couple of years, and our grade, the juniors, have kind of spearheaded that for the past year, 2 years. 2 years, yeah.
We're gonna do it.
Well, we were supposed to do it this year, but we had a lot of conflicts going on with sports, and I think at one point we were a group of juniors were touring a couple of colleges over in the Albany area, so we were unable to do it. And when we attempted to find alternatives, we were kind of met with limitations, both from the administration and from you know, other conflicts that have already been, you know,
Set.
yeah, they were set. They already had a date. They were in place long before we picked a date for Hall Week. So now we're kind of not combating it, but we're adapting to it with we're doing it in December now. We're going to try to do a Nightmare Before Christmas kind of thing, and so we can still have that Hall Week thing go on. We can still have student presence and we can still have that student activity in school, outside of school hours, and still have, you know, a fun thing to do.
And like, basically, I'm just gonna round this part up. So like we can try to do everything and like give all these ideas and like try to get people involved, but it's like really up to the students. Like it can be fun and like interesting and different, but if they don't wanna do it, they don't wanna do it, and then it's just a big flop. So I think where we are right now is just like like we don't have really ideas yet. Like it's something that like gets people to want to do things. Like it can be so exciting, but people just don't want to do it. So that's basically it.
Do you think it's a lack of school spirit, or couldn't this also be just a lack of time in the students' schedules and their ability to be able to do everything, all of the extracurriculars that many of these students are probably already in, and then they're being asked to join in a fun thing, and maybe they're just taxed and they're spent and they don't have the time or really the energy to want to do extra things.
It is time, but I think that certain things are just really simple. Like even they can be the more fun ones too. I don't know if that's a word. More fun, but it is time for certain things, of course, but it's just something that nobody cares anymore. Like even if it doesn't really amount a time period, it's just no one cares.
And also, Slock, if I'm being honest with you, I would go out of my way to go to a haunted house that our school provided and kind of skip an hour of homework just to do that. But, you know, that, with the whole timing thing, it's also, at least with me, I don't know about other high schoolers, but time management is a really difficult thing to do. But, I don't know. I feel that if we had something that was available to us, where we could see our friends outside of school and do school-related activities with them that are fun, I would do it, and I assume a lot of other people would do it also. So I don't think time is a huge factor. I feel like it's a factor, but I also feel that the school spirit thing is maybe a little bit of a bigger factor than time.
So what about asking your teachers to dangle a carrot somewhat for the students, that if they participate in some of these activities, maybe there's some kind of a win-win situation where maybe they don't have to do an assignment some night, or they get some kind of classroom credit if they start to participate in these things, and maybe by doing that, they'll start to see that these things are fun, and maybe the second and third time they'll go on their own. But there's probably some creative ways that you can get your teachers to help out with this.
We definitely just need a drive, like something to look forward to that's bigger. Like not look forward to, but like means a purpose, rather than just.
I have a question. Have you are there any plans to meet with any of our neighboring student council?
We haven't had any word about that.
Okay.
As in like Saranac Lakes?
No, I
Keene.
anywhere.
Anywhere.
Might be.
Anywhere.
Yeah, like
So
that,
when-
yeah, that was an example.
We haven't had much contact with anyone else.
Okay.
They did contact. We heard from Saranac Lake, but not about student council, but they did want to get involved with our prom or like do a mix. That's like the only thing that I've heard.
But
Okay.
also, it wasn't,
Contact from them.
sorry.
So you haven't reached out, because when I was the president of the student council, we had the opportunity to not only go to the other school and meet with other student councils, but they came and we sponsored, and you know, we did lunch, and there was a whole host of ideas that we were able to exchange, and so that's something that you should consider. And if there's a barrier to that, I'm sure you can talk to Dr. Catania, and he can let us know.
No, I definitely like that idea.
Yeah.
Quite a bit.
Because if you're out of ideas, then let's see what our neighbors are up to.
Yeah.
Because the more out, the school spirit's a big deal. Because you have to be here. So, you know, it can either be a place that you enjoy or a prison, so.
Yeah.
So let's, you know, I would encourage you to reach out.
No, I definitely agree with that, and I know for a fact that Saranac Lake has a homecoming, and I assume that definitely raises some sort of school spirit. So I mean, we've talked about it, both as a class, so my class, the junior class,
Sure.
actually our class, and also I think we've touched upon it during student council meetings, but you know, it's something we could definitely do. We could definitely accomplish it. And if we kind of base it like prom, you know, where one grade kind of not runs it, but sets it up and actually runs it. One of the grades could definitely make quite a bit of income depending on whether or not you decide to do the mission or something.
Can I ask you guys a question? Did any of you attend the leadership conference?
Yeah, the
You
one
did, Sam.
over
Yep.
At the, it was at
Yep.
Crown Plaza, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Was there opportunities to do this, to talk with members of other student councils?
There weren't really that many opportunities because half the day was us just listening to a lecturer or a, I don't know, like a speaker of some sort, and they just talked about their topic. For instance, I had one person that talked about like how instead of like being on our phones all the time, we should distance ourselves away. But as you can already hear from like that topic, that's pretty hard for us or our generation to do. So yeah. And the second half of our day was taken up by us participating in an activity that doesn't really accomplish much, in my opinion. It's more like just an activity just to get us busy. So yeah.
Right. So if you wanted to actually have those conversations with your schools, you might have to set it up yourself.
Yeah.
Are there other questions from board members?
I have one. So I'm hearing that, you know, the school spirit's down. We have clubs that are unpopular, not well attended. Have you guys talked about what the underlying cause of this might be, and have you thought about why that is? That there's a lack of interest in you know, these types of things. You know, have you talked about it amongst yourselves?
I mean, amongst ourselves, I don't think so. But
or if you have any personal thoughts or whatever.
Personally, I think that a lot of it has to do with, I don't want to like point fingers at anyone, but like I'm sure we can all agree that our current seniors right now aren't too up there, you know? Like, I don't know, they're not much of leaders, but they're really just there. So that's why I don't think we can accomplish anything this year. But looking towards next year, that's another topic on its own. And yeah.
That's what I was gonna say, that, you know, you're all juniors, correct?
Yeah.
It's perfect. If you're seniors, you'd be out of here, but you have a vested interest in making sure that your next year, your senior year is like off the hook. So, you know, think about, you know, if it's a homecoming, you know, it could be an event that you would do a year from now. You know, that's September.
yeah, and again, not to point fingers, but also we've had past experiences with students, whether it was during Winter Carnival or an attempt at something that was fun as an entire school. But there have been certain individuals who, I don't want to say ruined it for everybody, but did questionable things that caused us not to be able to, that limited us, you know? We are now, I mean, I think last Winter Carnival, a lot of people weren't able to use the bathrooms, or the bathrooms were monitored in order to combat, you know, vaping, but, you know, that poses issues in itself, right there, and that's just an example. But I don't know, I feel like it's partially because of those few students, but it's also partially because of the administration's reactions. And perhaps if we didn't have, you know, not collective punishment, because it's not really collective punishment, it's like we're just trying to make sure it doesn't happen at all, but by doing that you limit the students who aren't doing it, you know? So that's also a little bit of an issue behind, you know, boosting school spirit through clubs and through activities, and so that's one of the limitations that we have to deal with.
I also think, this is just what I thought, was I think it's a problem with our pride, like as in individuals. So we are a small school, and so that's good, like we really know each other, we're good friends, but we want more, and we're not bored of each other, but like want new faces. And so then we look to our neighboring school, which is like Saranac Lake, and we don't like them, but we kind of are envious and we like want to be them, but there's like not much of that we could do, so we just shut down and we're like, oh, this is just what it is, and like we're like placid, so we're just not gonna do anything. And so I think that's a big issue, is like that pride, but also wanting more, I guess.
Yeah, we want to maintain our, not, I wouldn't say traditions, but like we want to maintain, you know, our school status, and we want to maintain our, you know, feelings of pride, and have self-worth and you know, pride in our school. But when things come up such as us not being able to do things during our carnival, or not being able to do things in the hall and having like limitations, it's just like, kind of kills it, just a little bit. And also, when we attempt to do something and it doesn't get shut down, but it kind of gets maybe, I don't know what a good word for it is, but it's not to its full potential per se. I mean, we for instance, we have a lot of creative students, right? And we have a lot of art in the hallways, but we don't have anything that our students can do that expresses their creativity, but is also, you know, interactive with other students. I mean, we've attempted it in the past. A few times we've had individuals who've succeeded. An instance of this is I was able to play guitar with another student 2 years ago in the foyer the day before Christmas break, and we did some Christmas themed songs. But to get something like that to happen, you know, with other students, and have other students do that, there are limitations that are from the administration and also from, you know, teachers individually, and kind of just not having that is a little tough, and it kills school pride a little bit, because you're like, well, if we can't do this, so that's the school's fault. You know, it's like, if we can't do this, like, we don't really want to do it. Or if we have to do it this way and kind of like do it how the school tells us to do it rather than the way we really want to do it, we don't really want to do it. So that's also a little bit of an issue.
I also think, I think that we do want more like outcome from students, but you can't just keep adding more things, because these clubs, like, I think that we have a wide variety of clubs and like other curriculars, but when these many events like clubs aren't very well, not many people attend, well populated, like adding more isn't gonna do any better, because it'll just keep getting more thin spread. So yeah, I just think that maybe feel like if we work on the ones that we have, rather than like keep adding more, there would be more outcome, you know?
So just to, to finish up, you don't always get a chance to share your ideas with school board members. And so I want to make sure you have a chance to just provide our school board with any additional information or ideas, things maybe that you haven't already talked about. Anything else that you think would be good for them to know?
Well, I have two things. And I feel like a lot of students share this with me. The first one, probably more. But our school lunch is not where it could be. It's not as great as it should be, and I know for a fact, not for a fact, but I know that, the school is trying to do it. They have a budget for food, of course, and they're trying to stay under budget. They're trying to, be able to make more money than they're spending, and they're also trying to be healthy, and because of regulations that are through the state and on the federal level, and it's just a lot to deal with, and I understand that. However, there are healthier options that the school could do that are probably around the same price and also better tasting. I mean, I've seen like those college struggle videos where you can make an eggplant parmesan that's really good for 53 cents. I mean, there is possibility. You can do this, and it's kind of just, it's not baffling, but it's a little bit annoying that we have chicken twice a week. And no offense to chicken, but I'm kind of sick of it. Just because, we have chicken patty this day, we have chicken breast this day, we have chicken fajitas, thank you. And it's just like, it's a little overwhelming, and I mean, poultry used to sit well with me, but now it's kind of at the point where we're like, okay, can we just mix it up a little bit? And it's like we're in this cycle where it's like, we have pizza Fridays. Pizza here has actually gone uphill because at one point it was pretty bad. It was on like flatbread with barely any tomato sauce, and it just wasn't fantastic. And they've really improved since then. But we have it's really repetitive, and I know some, and it doesn't cater to all students either. We have students with allergies, but I'm pretty sure the only allergy we really cater to is peanut allergies, because they don't really cook with peanut oil, nor do they serve peanut butter when they serve peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. They serve like an artificial alternative to peanut butter, so that students aren't really affected. But then again, we also have students who have diets that they choose, whether it's veganism or keto diets, and the school doesn't really cater to them. And I understand it's a small population, but then again, if the school does want to have the most amount of money for their lunches, like they want to have a good overall income, then you need to do that. Like, you need to cater to each and every student. I mean, for the most
I have
part.
a question with the student council, and I don't know if there's a way to do this, but could they? Because that's always a big issue. The lunches and when it was get a microwave or whatever. But with the student council, could they do a liaison with maybe with the director of the yeah, absolutely. So that you guys could work with and come up and help with the menus, and then also have the opportunity to read all the regulations.
Mm-hmm.
So try to come up with the menus and navigate that. So just an idea.
Yeah.
You don't have to raise your hand.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm so used to it. Is it possible that with the student council, because I know I know a lot of people that would that would help out with the menu, and they're really fanatics about food, and they're displeased with the food right now, but since they're not a part of student council, would it be possible for them to also join in, try to help our menu, or?
And that's pursuant to your own rules, and you would have to talk with your advisor about that. But my understanding is that you can come up with your own rules for how you run your own student council. So, but that's something you'd want to talk to your advisor about.
Also afford the opportunity to be educated on perhaps why you can't go in multiple directions with different diets.
Yeah.
Just, cost prohibitive,
Right.
so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So be an educational opportunity.
I mean,
Go figure in a school, right?
yeah, but I remember maybe like, what was it, 3 or 4 weeks ago, you and I talked to Ms. Casey about the food that, like the same topic, and Ms. Casey kind of had the same idea as us with the proposal of a salad bar, and how, that could really be a good implementation in our school, and how, you buy a ticket for a salad, like to get salad, you can go to the salad bar, and you can get, good food, that you can get, that you can like make yourself, and then the idea of, how, clean is this? How sanitary is this? So then we also came up with ideas like, we have 2 lines in the lunch line, and we can use one as a salad bar, like a sandwich making area that students can get like hand-picked stuff that they would want to eat. And that would definitely, in my opinion, that would definitely increase schools, the schools, income from lunch, because more students would want to eat from a salad bar or a sandwich bar.
Because we do sell salads, so like we have this stuff, and it doesn't have to be anything crazy, just really simple. They're just like, people don't gravitate towards them because they're already like pre-made, which isn't bad, but they all have this stuff on them already, and some people just don't want to like pick through them or whatnot. So if there's just like a small little section where you can just make your own or like pick what you would like, that would just be helpful. Nothing crazy, just simple.
Is there anything else besides the school lunches that you would like to make sure that the school board hears tonight?
One issue in particular that gets brought to our attention, the cell phones.
I don't have a problem
Well,
with cell phones.
Currently,
I heard no problem.
currently, we have no cell phone policy in place, so that's pretty nice.
But it's not that prevalent, like, I don't know, I feel like when it first was initiated, everyone was up in arms, but then it didn't die down, like, with like the rules, but people kind of got used to it, and now it's just like an annoyance in certain parts, but it's kind of just up to the student, I guess you would say.
And it's also kind of up to the teacher too, depending on like, because I take 2 sciences. One of my science teachers is like all for the use of cell phones, and he's like, if you can use it for education and like you look up formulas, you can be able to, like, you learn through this device, go for it. The other teacher has us put it in pocket on her door, and then we are able to do that after class. I really feel like it's up to the teachers, it's their decision, because I feel as though last year when it was first implemented, we were kind of, we were up in arms, but mostly it wasn't really.
So we're not facing a student strike over it?
No, not really anymore. It was more like because we felt like our rights were being not taken away, but like,
And it was kind of just, I think everyone reacted because it was just kind of like dead set, and like nobody like actually just talked through, and like that's just the part of rules that people have a problem with, is just, they're just there, and it would just be nice for people to explain them, and like, this is kind of off topic, but when you get like punished, I know we do like a pretty good job with this, it's important to learn from it, and from having a good explanation, like why this was the way it happened, and like listening to the student would be nice. So like with the cell phone policy, if you get in trouble, you just get it taken away for a week, which is fine, but it gets annoying. But it's not really like why, it's just, this is the way it is. So if we get more reasoning on why the way things are, that would be less, whatever it's called when you do something that you're not supposed to.
Yeah, and an issue that I found with it, at least with the cell phone policy, is when I asked the administration, 2 things, like who put this in place and why, they said it was the school board, and then when I went to the school board and asked, it was like, you know, it wasn't up to us. And so it was kind of like the mystery man of who implemented the cell phone policy, and just not knowing.
That's government.
We approve policies, we don't implement them.
Right, yeah, yeah, but on the kind of punishment aspect, one thing I kind of wanted to address is the whole ISS when you're late X amount of times. It's a little tough though. I feel as though like, it kind of contradicts like when you're late, you know, you're missing classes. And to give you in-school suspension and take you out of the classes as a punishment for missing classes, I feel like that contradicts itself a little bit. I feel there should be a little bit more leniency as a person who's late a little bit. I don't know, I feel as though there should be a little bit more leeway and a little bit less of, you know, I feel like there should be a different punishment for the lateness, in my opinion.
On my view on ISS for being late, I feel like ISS, although it may sound like really scary and stuff, I'll have to share this. I got ISS for a pretty bad reason, honestly. It was pretty unfair, but anyways, when I had ISS, I felt like I could get a lot of my work done. And when I talked to other students that got ISS, they also were able to get all of their work done too. Like I just feel like it's a very productive use of time, since most of the time when we're giving out ISSs, there are two students that actively misbehave and they just lash out in class. So I feel like it makes sense, especially with just being late too. Like there are ways to get to this school on time, and even I'm late. I personally can say I'm late most of the time. Well, not most of the time, but a lot of the times. And I live just across the street, so that's just my fault for like not waking up on time. And, yeah.
How about board members? Are there any final remarks, final comments, final questions before we?
Yeah, I just have a comment. I mean, you guys are the student council, and it's kind of new to you. But what I'm hearing is, you know, up to this point, the students don't have a voice in things like cell phone policy and other things that affect your day-to-day life in school. But here you are, and you guys are the voice. It's just a matter of now coming up with what it is you want to say to us and the people who run the school, and how you can do that in a way that, you know, kind of achieves the things that you're saying you want to achieve, which is, you know, improve student, what do you call it?
Pride.
Yes, school spirit, sorry, yeah. And just bring that up to a level that I think you said was there in 2016, but it's sort of kind of fallen by the wayside for some reason.
Yeah.
And you're the, you know, I think Liam pointed that out too, you're in the position to start that discussion and see how that can happen.
And I think the creation of the student council is definitely, at least partially, in response to the administration's you know, implementation of the cell phone policy, and also the bathroom policy, which was pretty short-lived, but wasn't fantastic. Anyway.
But those are two negative things that got you guys interested in
Yes.
student government, but there's also now this ability to have a hugely positive impact as
Yes.
well as, you know, counteracting some of the negative things that happen. So I think it's a great thing you guys are doing this, so I'm really psyched. Thank you.
What else?
Thank you for coming in.
Yes, thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Yeah, our pleasure, yeah.
Really?
Perhaps next semester coming back.
Yeah, I'd like to hear some follow-up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd like to see the salad bar.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I want to be
I think it's a good
invited to
idea.
get that salad bar, you know?
No, I really think that's a really good idea. I mean, it's a small win, but it's a big visual one for you guys.
Yeah, and also it's a win for the school too.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, like.
I mean, I don't know how you do it, but that's something you guys can kind
Yeah.
of start the conversation.
And I don't think it's really a hard task to accomplish. I just feel like, you know,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
getting the permission to do it and getting it underway is the most difficult part. Everything else kind of just would follow.
Yeah, you just gotta start with the idea and then just start talking about it, see what obstacles are there, how you can overcome them, and if it's possible, then by all means, you have to do it. If it makes more money for the cafeteria, even better. Or if it just doesn't lose any more, that's good
Yeah,
too.
we're just trying not to lose anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank
Sam, John,
Thank you very
Dylan,
much.
thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, guys.
Really appreciate you being here,
Good job.
taking the time out of your evening to be here. It's
really great. Mr. Robinson, Ms. Hammaker, Ms. Casey, thank you for being here too.
All right. Thank you. Really, thanks for having us.
All right.
You're
Good one.
welcome.
Bye, you guys.
Door closed or open?
No.
Oh, that's good.
Not yet. Sorry, Paul.
All right, great. Superintendent's report?
Sure. Okay, well, we've been looking at the budget calendar, and that means that we're getting close to budget time. So I may take some of my superintendent's report today and in future meetings to talk a little bit about the budget, just so that we're thinking about these things. The thing I want to mention today is some of the things that are coming out of the state. So about this time every year, the New York State budget discussions begin, and they usually start with recommendations from, not from the government itself, but from some of the agencies. So the first group that weighs in on the budget is something called the Educational Conference Board. And the Educational Conference Board is really a group of, I think it's 7 statewide educational stakeholder groups, one of which is NISPA, right, School Board Association, one of which is Council of School Superintendents. These are ones that we work very closely with, as well as NYSA and the PTA and the School Administrators Group and the Big Five. And so they get together this time of the year to make recommendations about what they think the state needs to do in terms of funding for education. So I just wanted to share with you their recent recommendation, which came out, I think it was last Thursday before Thanksgiving, the 21st. So the ECB's recommendation was that the state increase its education funding overall by $2.1 billion for next year. And so it's kind of a good measuring stick to see when the governor comes out with his recommendation, whether it's less or more than what the Educational Conference Board is recommending. So the Educational Conference Board recommended is $2.1 billion increase, and they're also recommending updating the state's foundation aid formula, modifying the tax cap. They would like to see the tax cap modified to make 2% the floor, not the ceiling. Right now it's the ceiling. And then to change some provisions for the way BOCES capital project is calculated into the tax cap, the way pilots are calculated into the tax cap, and then this carryover provision. They would like to see it be possible for school districts to not feel compelled to go right up to the tax cap, but to be able to make decisions on an annual basis to go lower, and then to be able to carry that amount over into future years when you might need more. Right now, that's not where the incentive is. Right now, the incentive is that if you don't go up to the tax cap, then you will forever be behind in catching up. And so districts are motivated to always meet that tax cap. And so they're recommending a change to that carryover provision. Frankly, they've been recommending these for a few years, and some of these have not moved forward. These provisions in particular have not moved forward. So we know that these matter to the education community. They haven't necessarily been well received at the state level. So the Education Conference Board says $2.1 billion. They say that $1.6 billion is required just to keep pace with inflation, increasing salaries, benefits, the normal costs of doing business in schools. So they say $1.6 billion is just to keep pace, and then they're recommending an additional $5 billion for things like strengthening school safety and mental health services, for things that maybe aren't applicable to Lake Placid Central School District, like the receivership school support, but to provide specialized services for special ed and second language instruction, to do more for college and career pathways and for improving professional development. So the Educational Conference Board recommends not just holding its own, but also going a little beyond that and addressing some areas of need. You know that mental health services are first and foremost in what we've been looking at. We didn't have the funding last year to be able to provide the additional services that we were thinking would be important and helpful. They're recommending that school districts get that support. So this is the first recommendation that we're hearing about. And it coincides with some other news out there that isn't necessarily great news. You may have read in the paper a $6 billion deficit at the state level that we think will make it more difficult for the state government to recommend larger increases in state funding. So, we know that those kinds of things are covering. We also know that the tax levy growth factor, the calculation based on the index of inflation, will probably not be at 2% this year. The last couple of years, it's maxed out at 2%. This year, we're looking at an estimate right now of 1.74%. So there are some reasons to be wary, including we know that we're going to see an increase in retirement costs this year, rather than what we had for this current budget year. So the budget we were working on last year for this year saw a decrease in retirement costs. So we know that there are some things out there that are going to have an impact on us. And the Educational Conference Board recommendation is based on some of that. So that's the ECB recommendation. What comes next? The Board of Regents will weigh in very soon. So the Board of Regents is going to recommend what they think state funding should be, and they're going to provide that recommendation to the public as well as to the governor. And then in January, the governor will make his recommendation. It's an annual event where the governor recommends his entire budget, including education funding. Sometimes education is a centerpiece, sometimes it's a sideshow. We don't always know what he's going to bring to the table. But all of that's going to be out there up until the point where the legislature meets. And then for the winter, into the spring, the legislature is going to be debating the budget. We will probably know sometime around April 1st what our state aid will be, whether it's flat, whether it's an increase for next year. So it's a long road to from here to there, and this is kind of the beginning of it. But as you know, we're getting close to the holidays. It's after the holidays when our budget discussions will really kick into gear. And so these are the pieces that we're going to be using or thinking about as we start making preliminary decisions. So that's my budget talk. As far as upcoming events right back here in the school district, we only have 3 weeks between the end of Thanksgiving vacation and the beginning of the longer holiday break centered around Christmas. So there's a lot that's going on between now and then. One thing is that the school district's going to be receiving an award. It's an award that is shared with the town, the village, and ORDA. And this is something called the New York Upstate Community of the U.S. Green Building Council Award. They selected the Olympic region. We put together a partnership last year with Clarkson University to do what was called Leave for Communities. This is essentially creating communities, not buildings that are sustainable, but a community that's sustainable, looking at different aspects of the community, spearheaded by Clarkson University and a group of students that were dynamite and participating with all of our municipalities. And the Green Building Council is giving an award to our group, and that's later on this week. So that's kind of a nice thing that you might want to know about. So congratulations to the whole community, really, for that work. Other things, music is big this time of year. So there'll be 3 concerts going on. The middle school winter concert comes first, that's tomorrow. And that goes along with the middle school art show, which is in the foyer. It's already up. It's looking great. I heard one of the positives that being discussed had to do with art in the schools, and this is one of those times when we have lots of art in the schools. Next Wednesday is the high school concert, and that will also be in conjunction with the art and technology show. So more examples of student artwork, but also work that comes out of the engineering shop over here. A lot of really neat things that go on there. And the following Wednesday is December 18th. That's the elementary school holiday concert, probably the best attended event of the year. If you want to come to the auditorium that night, it's grades 3, 4, and 5, and they perform in the high school auditorium. That's Wednesday, December 18th, the elementary school concert. If you do attend, you should think about bringing a sleigh bell or a sleigh bell app, apparently, that you can ring That's going to be some audience participation. So that's music. In sports, there's lots of things going on. There's contests that are really heating up now. There was one going on in the gymnasium, of course, as you pulled in tonight. But there's a lot of contests starting this week. The winter season is really in full swing. In theater, this Saturday is the annual Murder Mystery. Usually that's been earlier in the year, but this year it's in December. So 7 p.m. in the auditorium is the Murder Mystery. In other areas, and I'll mention the elementary school, there's always a lot going on at the elementary school this time of year. The after-school program's hosting a movie night this Friday. December 6th, which is later this week, is shopping day. That's in the elementary school gymnasium. If you've had elementary school kids go through school, you know that shopping day is a big event there. There's also Whiteface Lodge Day. That's a favorite for elementary school students. That's next Wednesday, the 11th. Many thanks to Whiteface Lodge for sponsoring and organizing things for our kids. December 19th is the elementary school holiday lunch. And then on the last day before the break, that's Friday, December 20th, the elementary school children enjoy Polar Express Day. And I believe that includes a reading of the book by the principal in maybe pajamas? I'm not sure about that. I'll double check on the pajama part. But it's a fun day for kids. So we will be having many events and a lot of activities before settling down for the long 2-week break. I know between now and then we have one more board meeting, but it's never too early to wish you happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever it is that you celebrate. Wish you and your families well this time of year. That's everything for me. Any questions or comments?
Thank you very much. Next up is information for the board. There are 5 files attached. 2 are associated with the School Board Association. One's a registration form, the other's a flyer on the mental health in our schools. It's being sponsored by BOCES. That's Thursday, January 9th. If you're interested, the deadline for that is, what did I see, December 20th. There's the ORDA email, update on busing information, and then copy of the letter of acting commissioner regarding the appointment of the new FEH BOCES district superintendent and CEO. Any questions, comments on those items? Linking goals with agenda items.
Students first and foremost.
Yep. Student presentation, thank you. Safety plan. Community outreach involvement. Yeah. Anything else?
Is that in the safety plan?
What's that?
Community outreach.
Goal 3. Anyone else have anything?
You want to wait for Jeff?
He can report later. Okay, number 6, capital project update. Narratives are provided. I believe we'll be discussing other aspects of the project at this time.
So I want to introduce to you a member of the audience that you're not used to seeing. Very patiently been waiting, is Paul Lemoy. Now, if you don't know Paul Lemoy, I imagine you're going to see Paul again. So please do get to know Paul. Paul works here on a regular basis. Paul is really our go-to guy for our construction management company, Schoolhouse. Now, we did have Eric Robert was here for a previous meeting. Eric is one of the principals of the company. He's also very active and engaged. Paul is here on the ground many days. He has many projects going on, but we see a lot of them. You arrived before me this morning, I believe, which was pretty early,
Yeah.
and you're still here.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. And I know you work hard all day when you're here, so thank you for all that. So Paul is here. Paul could talk about many aspects of the capital project. And so we might give Paul a minute or two to provide an overview.
Sure.
But we could also go into any questions you might have. And then we could maybe talk in more depth about
Sure.
the goal. Paul, do you want to?
Sure.
Yeah.
So we have
a number of projects going on around the school district right now, and our plan is Eric Robert is actually going to be coming back in January, hopefully after the Christmas break, to give you some very good news about wrapping up some of the projects that are ongoing now, along with taking on a couple of other ones. But obviously, I think when he talked to you last, we had a couple of stumbling blocks with some asbestos abatement, and I think we've finally gotten through that. I'm happy to report that we now have a new abatement contractor on board for the rest of the project. It's a company that I've worked with on a couple of different projects, very reputable. I think Dr. Catania would tell you that when I told them they're very good, I have a tendency to underestimate what they do. They've never come up with a goal where it's by saying we'll be done on Friday, where they haven't usually met and been done on Wednesday. So I'm very optimistic that we're going to be over the abatement hurdle and have much better news in the springtime as they start to get into that activity again. I'll start with the pedestrian bridge, which is kind of where we started. The bridge now has the roof is on it. There was some erection clips that were welded on by mistake by the steel contractor. And when we figured out that the steel clips shouldn't have been there and shouldn't have been welded on, they were then going to be in the way of all the new glass panels that we have to put all along the bridge to enclose it. So he's been here. I won't say he's been here regularly because that wouldn't be the case. But he's been here, and he assures me that he's probably going to be finishing up tomorrow, so that we can get, the activity is a little bit more involved now, because since he's ground off those clips and redone it, we now have to have the painting contractor come back, which involves completely closing up the bridge and heating it so that he can get in there and do the painting, which is at their expense and their cost, because they waited this long to get that part of the project going. Lighting, I think the conduit was all installed today, so the lights are going in there. The glass, the storefront panels are all built. They were actually going to be delivered today. We've postponed them until they could actually deliver them and install them all in one day. And I believe the glass is right behind it. So our hope is by the time the end of next week is done, that we maybe have all that storefront glass and everything installed. The doors are still a little bit ways away, but at that point we'd be able to open up the bridge and allow you to use it again, and then change the doors out on probably either the Christmas break or the spring break, depending on when the actual new doors that were changed arrive. I'll switch gears and go over to, actually, and the other thing that's going on here at the high school, we do have two mechanical fitters working underneath in the crawl space, installing all of the new heating lines for the new heating system. That's ongoing. You'd probably never even notice that they were under there. They're actually pretty good at staying fairly quiet. I don't think I've heard a single complaint about them under there working. But they're getting an awful lot of piping in that's going to make that changeover this summer a whole lot quicker, because that is really my biggest concern, is getting that heating system shut down, completely switched out, and then back online again before you need heat. It's a really big part of the project. We've reached out to the mechanical contractor, and he's assured us that he's planning on ramping up with 16 or 18 guys across the summer to be able to get that work done. So we're working on some master schedules, and we are going to hold their feet to the fire a little bit. And Bass Hatfield is a challenging general contractor. They've been, Dr. Catania can tell you, I pretty much email them almost every day and tell them, you're 2 weeks behind on this part of the project, you're a week behind here, you're a month behind there. Some of it has to do with design, and some of it has to do with the abatement, but I'm still working hard to try and get them back on track so that we're not facing the springtime with still trying to get done work that we had planned to get done much before the spring. So, switching over to the elementary school, the loading dock is receiving the block and brickwork around the new louver that's getting installed. The stairs have all been poured. There's a new topping slab getting put on there. Probably that's going to get put on, I would think, next week. And then we're just waiting for the bumper pads to come in for it, and the loading dock would be able to be turned over. So I'm kind of optimistic that maybe after Christmas break we'd be able to turn the loading dock back over to you. The good news is the second floor bathrooms were turned back over to you on Monday. to some raves from the faculty and staff over there that they wound up with their restrooms again. There's a few little minor things. There's a fan that had a really long lead time that isn't in yet, but there's an existing fan that's there, and we just tapped into that and made it work. So we do have some exhaust air in the bathrooms, and we kind of made it work. And we'll get the other items that are remaining in that bathroom fixed up probably on second shift or on one of the breaks as we get a little closer to that. They are going to be starting to work on the elementary pedestrian bridge. I think the shop drawings all came in for the steel work. They just got approved, so that steel will be getting ordered, and again, probably 4 weeks from now, we'll probably start seeing the steel for that part of the bridge. Really, getting back to the high school here, the real reason I actually came here tonight is our site contractor has basically, so I don't know if you shared their response, Roger, you did.
Yeah,
That
the
they
board has
need,
all the documents.
yeah, they need an answer on which direction you want to go with the wall, and they need the answer by 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, or they're going to just start building the wall you contracted them to build because they need to order material. And they're probably going to be shutting down for a couple of weeks because we haven't given them an answer, and they've got to order all the rebar and get all those shop drawings approved and engineered, and depending on which way we go, depends on what rebar they put in, so they're really pushing hard to get an answer. So I came here mostly tonight to answer any questions you'd have on the retaining wall, if you have any, and to give you some guidance on. I try to be really careful about not trying to give you my opinion on what the design was, whether it was good or bad, because we like to work with architects and we like the architects to recommend us. So, but if you ask me my opinion, I'm happy to give you that. Just understand it wouldn't be the opinion of schoolhouse construction. It'd be my opinion based on 30 years of doing this.
Let's hear it.
What's your opinion?
Put me right on the
You knew it was coming.
And so, go ahead, tell us.
So I would tell you that if this was my money, I would build the concrete wall with the fake stone, with the fake stamped stone. I would do it for a couple of reasons. First of all, we went up to Whiteface Lodge and looked at their stone wall. A stone wall with real stone is going to require yearly maintenance, and there's no way of getting around that. There's going to be water that infiltrates to a little bit. The water's going to expand and contract. Stones are going to get loose. Stones are going to fall off. It'll happen in every single wall. I don't care how well it's constructed. It's going to happen. Stones are going to loosen up. Much the same way your limestone on the front of your building did. You're going to have that same issue. It can be repaired, obviously, but the stamped wall can also be repaired, and you know, I would look back at the amount of money that you're going to save and say, well, you're not maybe halfway to what we spent on the abatement, but I would certainly say that puts us a lot closer to being on track with the project. And quite honestly, I don't really see a huge difference in one or the other. They both look very nice, and I think we can, we'll, depending on what you pick, I actually picked apart the bridge they did down in Keene that we went to look at and said, well, I don't really like these joints, and they assured me that all of those joints would meet our expectations, because I'm not looking for people that are driving by your new retaining wall at 60 miles an hour. We're looking at people walking by it that are going to be able to look at it. And so that's our goal. I did supply you with some other pictures of other stone types. There's really, any of those are available. I don't believe there's additional cost in picking one over the other. I will tell you the one we initially suggested is the only one that the APA allows inside the Adirondack Park. The good news is you don't fall under their jurisdiction or guidelines, so you can just thumb your nose at the APA and say, yeah, we don't like your wall, and we'll do what we want anyway. But that is the only one. So I would tell you, if Orta is going to redo their wall, which I know they're talking about up here, if they're going to do a stamped wall, which, in talking to them, they're either going to pour back concrete like it is now, or they're going to do a stamped wall, one or the other, because they can't afford real stone. If they do that, the only wall that they could use is the one that we first provided. So again, if you're looking at trying to match them all up, that would probably be my suggestion.
When you say first provided, you're talking about the stamped wall?
Correct.
Not the stone veneer?
Correct. Yep. And I know some people were worried about the stone veneer that, you know, snowplow would hit it and you're gonna break off chunks of it. There is a granite curb that's gonna sit in front of that retaining wall. So I mean, somebody's gonna have to they're gonna have to jump the curb to hit your wall. And I can tell you if they jump the curb, you're probably gonna have a lot bigger issues than repairing your retaining wall. So that would be my suggestion, and please don't share that with the architect because I'll get in a lot of hot water with that.
Okay, we're on live streaming video anyway, Paul.
That's
so,
all right.
you know, it's already been shared.
It's out there.
Yeah. So how would you like to, you know, how would you like to discuss the wall? I shared with you many of the pictures that Paul's already mentioned and all the documents. Do you want to go through it? Do you want to ask questions? Are you comfortable with where we are on it?
7 a.m.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I'm in a spot where I'm ready to approve this thing without any further delay. It seems like the pressed concrete is what industry standard is, and so.
And I can tell you, like if you want the wall, if you need the wall touched up, there's actually from Connecticut north, there's one guy that paints those walls. So you're going to get the exact same job every time because he's the guy.
What happens when he disappears?
Hopefully somebody else is going to take his place, but he is the guy. So anybody who builds one of those stamped walls, he's the guy. You do have the ability to decide how many contrasting colors you'd like in the thing. He basically stains the entire wall one color, and then he randomly goes through and picks individual stones and paints those stones different colors to give you that contrast throughout the wall. So
That's amazing.
Yeah, if there's been one comment that I've received is exactly that be cognizant of where we are, that we're not in Albany and, you know, yellowish stones just don't blend in.
right.
So that's the only comment that I've gotten from constituents out there that are worried about. It's amazing, they're just recognizing that the trees are gone. Now that the construction is starting.
My one comment would be that no matter what you build, it's gonna look better than the retaining wall.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. They look great.
Certainly.
And most of the time, they do go with earth tones.
Correct.
Most of the fabricated stone or whatever, they're usually in those earth tones, and
Yep.
I don't know. that we-
Except that I think that there's certain types of stones that exist here. They're round, you know, great
Yeah.
glacial
Like
stones.
river rock or whatever, that,
But you don't want to have like something that's not native to the Adirondack Park, which some of these clearly are. The one, and, you know, the one that's at the Whiteface Lodge, which is a veneer, is consistent with what you would have if you actually used round stone and built that wall.
Correct.
Which is why I think the architect spec'd it. What are we talking about, the difference in price?
$80,000,
$80,000. Okay, this is gonna last for how long?
50 years.
50 years, okay. So we're looking at about $1,500 a year, something like that.
Takes 18 years for concrete to totally cure,
Yeah.
and then it starts to deteriorate.
Okay, so what's your opinion?
I like the pressed wall.
You like the press wall, Rick?
Yep.
Press wall.
Press it.
Roger?
You saw my recommendation.
Okay. I want to hear it.
I was recommending doing it.
Doing the press?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'm in.
no, we're good.
Okay.
I mean, with our climate here, it just seems like a no-brainer, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
Just with the caveat that as long as it looks like Adirondack stone and not
Yeah.
something completely bizarre out of, you know, like making lava rock or something.
Fitted perfectly.
I've seen it, I've seen it.
Yeah, I know.
Trust me, it's here.
So the couple of pictures that we did send in are actually projects that Luck Brothers, who was your site contractor, they've actually done. The bridge by the ski jumps. Takes a little bit to get out and get around and see that. We stopped by the other day and looked at that. There's another bridge down in Keene that they've done. Both of those are with that retaining wall, with that pattern, and
So this is the white face
Yep.
wall, that's the real stone veneer.
Right.
Keep on going, Karen. And then the wall you're talking about, okay, go back one, Karen.
That's it.
Paul was mentioning the maintenance that's needed. We tried to get a picture of that. You know, it was just,
That's whole stones. That's
Yeah,
not
these are-
veneer. Yeah.
Right.
So
No,
that's-
those are stone veneers. They're
No,
those are
that's
veneers.
not a veneer, is it?
Yeah.
Those are real
That's a-
stones that
No, I know
have
the
been
veneer
cut.
is. Well, why does it say real still needs maintenance as opposed to
Yeah,
real
it's just,
veneer?
it was mine, that was me. I
It's a,
wrote that.
yeah,
okay.
real stone veneer.
Okay,
Yeah,
real stone
yeah,
veneer, as
Still
versus
needs
real
maintenance.
stone.
Correct.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And actually, will probably over years require much more maintenance than a pressed wall, much more.
We'll go to the next one. So this is the
Yeah.
wall that Paul's talking about. Now, I do want to bring something up.
Sure.
This is called the cap, right?
Yes.
This is not the cap we would have, right?
No, the cap that was originally designed is.
So the cap that was originally designed would be put on, which is a little bit more like the last one. Is that correct?
Correct, yep.
Can you go back, Karen?
Yep.
Yeah.
So we'll get a
All right,
granite
one
cap.
more. Go back one more. So I'm sorry, one more. So this is what we would
Yeah,
got cap,
that looks nice.
right? So is this is what our cap is going to look like, something like that?
I'm pretty confident that it's
Yeah,
gonna look
okay.
something.
But
like
it's
that,
it's
yes.
not the cap on the
It's
Love
not a
Brothers
poured
wall
concrete cap,
over
it's
here.
Correct.
It's real granite?
Okay. Other than that,
No, I
you've
don't
seen
believe
these
it's real
pictures
granite.
It's not real
before,
granite, it's concrete.
and this is the
Right.
pressed concrete wall. This is the one that's the APA approved
Correct.
style, correct?
Which looks nothing like Adirondack stone. Looks like quarried stone, like it's been cut.
Cut quarry.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you look at the wall going down through the Wilmington notch.
No, I understand that, right, you can tell it's made, it's a hand.
I mean, ideally, they would make it look similar to all the rock wall that we have down there.
That's what I'm saying, but they don't have that
No,
ability.
you do actually, right?
You like?
So we have more, that booklet you provided,
Yeah,
that, the board hasn't seen that.
okay.
So-
I sent Roger, you had a
Yes, I
copy,
think
and
it was
Dan had a
yesterday,
copy.
yeah.
There are some really nice more rounded, like, fieldstone type, examples
I
of
mean,
that.
unless we don't care that it looks like something that's not native to the area.
What I want to do is walk away from here and say that you're happy with what we built you. So feel free to look at the catalog, but I just have to impress upon you, we got to pick one tonight. I don't know that we would. Well, I am going to say we'd have to pick it tonight because they have to order the.
What we're
forms.
doing tonight is deciding pressed concrete or not.
Yeah, I think we.
Or the original plan.
Right.
As far as picking some kind of pattern, that doesn't have to be tonight, correct?
To order the forms, yeah, yeah, because that's all part of the whole package of getting it ordered so they can get material here. They won't have, they've actually assured me, even if you use the wall, the pattern that you showed of the pictures we took, they're gonna buy brand new forms for that, because the forms that they have leaked a little bit, and you can certainly see in the joints where they've been used multiple times. So they're going to buy new forms for no matter what you do here, so that you wind up with really clean forms when they strip it. So
I just have a little bit of a problem, sitting here at 8 o'clock at night, and saying, you gotta make a decision right now, and that's your only choice. I don't like that at all.
Usually they have sample boards that you can see some of the rock choices that.
Yeah, I mean, we had this thing
Okay.
spec'd out for a year, now we're changing it at the last minute. That seems like, that's how bad decisions are made, I think. That's my only concern.
I wanna see we gotta, do they have the calendar? Or not the calendar,
The catalog.
the catalog?
Yeah.
I would say, to me
How-
personally, it would be to match whatever is down in our neighborhood.
But it should look like native stone, and
Yeah.
that's something that's, I don't know where that came
And
from.
we're gonna do it. So,
I'm actually baffled that the APA approved that for the Adirondack Park.
Who cares what they think?
yeah, right, yeah, now
I mean, as you said, they don't have jurisdiction here anyway, but they respect a certain way to look a certain way because this is the Adirondack Park. These are Adirondack type stones,
Right.
even though they're veneer. I mean, I buy stone veneer from guys in Whitehall, but it's local granite, it's stuff that's part of the Adirondack Mountains. It's not, if you're gonna make a veneer, or if you're gonna make a stamped product, it should look consistent with, like I said, I don't wanna see lava rock, because
Right.
that's an option. Or brick, I mean, that's not what we have. Liam's point's well taken. I mean, there's another stone wall there that is still gonna remain, is my understanding, right? We're not tearing down the wall further up School Street, right, or up Cummings Road. That's all staying in place.
I don't even know whose jurisdiction that stone wall's in, right?
Cummings Road?
Well, yeah, so.
No, this is just on School Street.
Right, just on School Street, right. okay.
Yes, right, this is just School Street.
And so how far up School Street did we go?
School property.
Okay,
So this is from the,
Like the stop
you know,
sign?
right, so the closest point to the school for the stone wall is almost at the gymnasium. are really pretty much at the loading dock and
Okay.
all the way back to the corner,
Mhm.
right? So it pretty much goes back to the corner, so it's a pretty long wall.
Right.
But it doesn't, so it goes all the way up School Street, but it doesn't continue down,
School Street.
I guess it is School Street, isn't it, right?
You
So-
got School Drive and then you have
Yeah.
School Street,
Right.
so.
Right.
So it doesn't continue into the residential area.
Okay,
It's
so
just
it's
the part that
going
goes
up our
alongside the
driveway,
school.
in other words, up our driveway to, yeah,
No.
I. seems like we
Is
got
this
it
what
right.
you're talking about?
Yes.
Why?
Did you have another
I don't know.
recommendation for, is this?
I'll sit here and pick the one though, I mean.
That's fine, but again, I mean, I just feel like kind of bad decision get made under pressure.
But don't let me stop you, you know, I mean, I guess maybe we have to keep, we have the decision right now, we make it at the end of the.
Well, frankly, my understanding was that we were just choosing form liner or the original plan tonight. Not that we had any, I mean, you know.
I
no one
can double check on that,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, so I think we gotta,
I don't think the board should be involved in the pattern
the
of it.
pattern thing, yeah.
No, I completely agree, but.
I just think that this is gonna be something huge that the whole public's gonna see.
Exactly, it's our name on it, we approved it, that's my point. So, given that, I mean, we approved one thing, and now we're changing it at the 11th hour to something completely, I mean, engineering-wise completely different, and visual-wise completely different. I agree with Liam, that's not our job to pick this, I don't think we should be doing that.
Right, to me, the board's decision is really keep the stone veneer or move to the form liner pressed concrete, that's really.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
we have an architectural opinion for a reason. We hired an architect for a reason. And now
Right.
here we are, you know, going against the architect's recommendation, and I
Right.
understand why.
Right.
I understand why, and from an engineering standpoint, but we hired an architect because we want a consistent, cohesive look to the whole project. And now we're being put in a position to have to change that, and that's gonna be out there for the next 50 years.
Sure.
Right, that's my concern.
Paul, could you come up for a second?
Sure.
So the wall we're replacing is this one up here. But if you continue down School Street, this is the wall that's there now. Is there a pattern where we can have something that matches this type of wall? Because these walls here are what's in that neighborhood.
Yeah,
You
this
go,
I don't know that even the wall that was originally designed would have matched that. Those are much
Well, it's a
bigger
much
stones.
closer though
Right,
than
it's
the picture we're looking at
Much
up
bigger
here.
stones than
Rough
would be used
ash.
on
We know, we understand that, but still,
You know, it's-
that's not that.
No,
it's not,
And
that's
then
not
narrow
a
down
cut
to-
stone that's there.
not like that. It's in that, it's on that, and then the other one to the left, if it's that page.
I don't know, 2-inch relief, I can't get my fingers on it to climb it.
And I'm happy if you decide you want to go with the veneer wall, the pressed concrete wall, to go back to the architect and say, this is what they've done, they'd like your recommendation based on this catalog. You know, I don't think that would hold the contractor up from submitting a rebar schedule and ordering the rebar. But I just don't want to commit to that and then make him come back tomorrow and say, we told you that you needed a decision and you really didn't make the decision. So
When did they tell you this?
Yeah.
I mean, we're only hearing about this just now.
It was a while. It was,
We've been talking about it for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, I mean,
Yeah.
all
As
this.
far as like what you saw in that document is really when that came out.
right, and their whole point is that to say they need a decision now, they're gonna be shutting down their project, sending their guys somewhere else for a couple of weeks until they can get all this material in to be able to go back here. Their intention was not to leave here and go somewhere else and then come back again. And quite honestly, in defense of Luck, they're spending money to build the upper retaining wall in winter conditions because they know that it was gonna be very difficult to get enough manpower to do the lower wall during the springtime. So they are already gonna be out of pocket
They're
some extra
spending
money.
the district's money to do this.
No, because they're not gonna charge you anymore for doing all this in winter conditions. But they are gonna have more cost.
Well, I think that's the cost of doing business in the North Country too. I mean, they've been here for how many years, so they know this. You only get, it's mostly winter here. So you're gonna have a winter season in your construction project.
So is everybody comfortable with voting on not a specific design, but the type?
Yes.
I don't want to vote on design at all. I want the architect. I'm okay with the type.
Yeah.
That's no problem. But I want the architect to spec what that's going to look like, and it's got to be consistent with what they said. Otherwise, I mean, if we're making that decision, I say no.
Okay.
If we're picking that, we're picking a pressed wall.
Right, I think that was the intent of this discussion.
That's not what I'm hearing.
Is that true?
Right, we picked it out.
So,
I'll sell that to him tomorrow, and hopefully he can.
But you guys, look, we can vote on it. I'm going to vote no, but I'm telling you right now, because I don't want to make that choice.
I don't think you're making that choice.
I think that's what I'm hearing right now.
No, wait till you hear you'll need to hear what we vote on. I mean,
Okay, all right.
I don't believe that in the recommended action is any design. It's just replacing veneer wall with a foam liner pressed concrete wall.
right.
Yes, but that's the picture I'm looking at. So
No, this is just a picture of a wall that's.
but I'm just hearing they're
that
gonna
is-
buy new forms.
I agree with you, Jeff, that from what we've presented here, we've presented you pretty much without these additional suggestions, that this was gonna be it. So if that is what the case is, in other words, if the board were to vote, we'll go with the form liner, but, you know, we'd like to spend we'd like to have the architect spend a little additional time
Yeah.
and make it look the way it was originally gonna look, but that's not gonna be the case at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
Then frankly, I'm not comfortable either, because I don't wanna promise you something that I don't know is gonna happen.
Well,
Our
back it up,
our
I don't know what the
architects-
original
I mean,
look
architect-
was at
wait.
all. I don't know what the original
Right.
look was, so.
And what makes me really nervous about this is that this is, you know, a huge project that we're doing at the school, and
Yeah.
there's not a lot of visuals. I've tried to explain it to a lot of people, that a lot of it's under the hood, you know, it's the asbestos abatement. it's
Which
the-
most of it is, but that's
But
not.
but that's what I'm saying, so this one is
Yeah.
very public.
And the limestone's not. I mean, those are the ones you hear about.
Yeah,
You're gonna hear about that.
yeah, if it looks, yeah,
So other than-
Egyptian stone here,
Yeah.
Other than the rebar that they're going to be able to order tomorrow, regardless of whether or not we choose this pattern, it's still going to set them back, correct?
I think the form liners are probably more readily available. They've got to design and order the rebar. They have to put together a rebar drawing and get it approved by the engineer. So that's really their first step, and the difference in the two is different rebar. Different configuration of the rebar.
Sure. I'm prepared to agree that the pressed is certainly, from an engineering standpoint, the way to go. I'm just not prepared to make a decision. I don't think we as a board should be making a decision on design, period. I think the architect should do that.
but I would like, but
I'd like to see it.
Yes and no, but at the same time, I think it should match I think it's important because it's like I said before, this is a very visual representation
Yeah.
of a very large project.
Mhm.
And so, like I said, I think it should match the neighborhood.
Yeah, I agree.
So, you know, I'm gonna play devil's advocate to what I said over here before. If in fact we're more comfortable with, you know, architect's design for a wall. Our architect designed the wall.
And the architect was
that
animate.
that you're being asked to vote against, essentially.
Mhm.
The architect was very, yes, Rick, because you were
Yes.
there.
Yep.
The architect was very vocal about the wall that he designed representing the Adirondack wall style, Adirondack stones. He was very vocal about that,
Which we haven't seen.
right? And, no, we haven't seen it. but
And that was real stone,
Stone veneer.
Veneer.
stone veneer, okay.
Yeah.
So real stones
it's
are,
real stone,
real stones
right.
pressed,
Right.
yes, in there, and instead of a, Yes, you
Right,
got the
yeah,
difference,
yes.
right, so.
It's like flat on one
Yeah,
side.
so I mean, I think if we're gonna be most comfortable with an architect's design for this, the architects already designed it, and we've already got it in our budget. In other words, the $80,000 is less than we agreed to spend. So we still have the budget covering. If we would be most comfortable with an architect design, then I think you gotta go with the original design,
Yeah.
rather than the press design. And because, otherwise, it's crap, I just think it's a crapshoot in terms of how that's gonna look.
But we
and
don't
whether
know
that's
what the
gonna-
veneer is gonna look like, so that's a crapshoot as well.
But that's not our problem.
But it's where
We hired an
it's what the
architect to
design
do it.
was.
I mean,
Apparently
But-
it already.
But if
fits
we
in
say we
with our-
want a pressed wall, then the same thing.
well, as long as the architect agrees and says it's consistent with what they've proposed, I mean, why'd we pay them in the first place if we're not gonna follow their advice?
Other than the fact that all I hear, not only here tonight,
Let
but
me see if I have it, let me see if I have a
From
submittal on the.
those in construction, that a veneer wall is going to take a lot of work.
It'll take more maintenance.
Maintenance.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree
Yeah.
with that.
So-
I'm just saying that it's the design, not the implementation.
Yeah.
At the end, that's a better implementation, I agree. I'm just saying, I don't want my name on any design that doesn't have an architect's signature on it, that we paid to do it. Otherwise, we're putting ourselves out there saying, oh, the board changed the architect's drawings and did this instead, which is silly.
And frankly, Jeff, you just articulated what the architect said.
Yeah,
And so,
otherwise, why did we hire an architect?
Well,
could
why
just
did
hire
we
a
go off
contractor.
in this direction anyway?
What?
What caused us to
question.
go off into the stamped direction?
Yeah, why'd you give us a choice?
okay.
Because Luck Brothers asked,
So I brought this to you guys maybe a
I'm
month
just
or two
forgetting.
ago,
I don't.
just with one photo, just with a couple of photographs.
Right.
We just heard
And I'll
it's a
tell
dollar
you
amount.
how we got there. So it was the contractor that brought it to us, right? So the contractor, this was even before our NISPA conference, because we had this meeting with the architect at the NISPA conference. It was early October. The contractor said, we could do a pressed concrete wall that would save you money and take less time to build, and it would be just as sturdy. Why don't you go with that? So it's the contractor's idea that we started to mull around, and probably was going to go without much discussion until our architect started weighing in and saying, design-wise, this is, we were trying to do something that would blend in and with the Adirondack style as much as possible in
Sure.
as real a way. So the architects, and you have a couple there, and I think I provided you the Tim Bonaparte feedback. He's the landscape architect. His original feedback was he was recommending we keep the original arrangement. Then our architect John Jojo, who oversees Mosaic and has been on the job here for 20-something years, he weighed in with the comments about representing the architectural, the Adirondack style in a more true way. Rick and I were part of that conversation.
Sure.
But we also had many other conversations about, and we just had here today, maintenance and both the maintenance problems of the stone veneer and the maintenance problems of the pressed concrete.
It's not in color, but this is what the architects look for. That's the sample.
We are in the weeds.
I agree with Martha. We are.
You're in the weeds.
Again, I don't think.
Yeah, but it's like the weeds that everyone's gonna see, so
Well, no, that's the point. I mean, I don't think.
if it happens underneath in the mechanical, whatever.
Oh,
We have
okay,
a
well, that's
picture of the
consistent.
stone over
That's-
here.
That's consistent with the stone.
And that
That's
looks
right.
like river rock. It almost looks like a river rock.
Well, if you dig around in the ground here, that's the stuff you dig up.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's Adirondack stone,
probably should stick with the original.
which you can buy in a veneer, which is probably why they recommended it. Because they take a stone and they cut it.
5 years.
So why can't you get a stamp that looks like that?
Huh?
Why can't you get a stamp that looks like that?
I agree.
I'm assuming you can. You can make a stamp look like anything, can you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, did you look at the choices in the book?
Yeah, it's just in the book.
Again, Karen, my point is that I don't think that's our job to make
No,
that
no, no.
choice. But yeah, I'll look, sure.
that's the pattern that they're proposing, this one. Those are the two that are.
They being,
Luck Brothers, when you
Okay, so
read
this,
through some of the documents.
so this is the one we saw on that.
That's the one they're proposing,
Looks nothing like anything around
It
here.
doesn't look.
Adirondack dry stack. And they have a proposal from concrete rock surfaces.
No, that, guys.
It's on page 8 of,
The only reason I'm against this is I do this for a living. I mean, I do stone veneer on fireplaces. I've torn stones off fireplaces because they don't look native. And put
it's
the
under
right
the
stuff on
But
it.
that
wall
doesn't look
face
like it.
credit document,
I don't know.
page 8.
I'm prepared to say yes to this for the, if they can make it look like the
Right
architect's
there,
drawing.
it
If the
says
architect will sign off.
pattern, Adirondack dry stack.
That's not that.
But, you know, I don't think we
No,
should.
what we
This
looked at?
other page
Yes,
doesn't
that
look
is
like
what
what
we
was on the stamp.
The Adirondack dry stack is the
Not
picture.
at all. And,
So Adirondack dry stack is the one from. the
It looks
bridge.
like a cut stone.
Correct,
yeah,
So that is, so what we saw there
is what they're proposing.
is what they're.
is what they're proposing.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay,
That's what
that
this
was
is.
my original thought,
Right.
that's what they had proposed.
Yeah, that's what you said earlier, that's what they, because that's what they have, that's the form they have.
Yeah, other than,
They're-
I mean, they're gonna
they're-
buy new forms, but
The one that's
they
hanging
provided
down
the
on the
catalog
bottom.
because they aren't opposed to getting
One
you
more
different
page.
forms and making
Fair
it
enough. No,
look
I
what you want,
understand
so.
That's the pattern that they're,
It's a real issue, like
That's what we looked at.
becoming,
Yeah.
all of a sudden acting as an architect or a landscape architect, I don't want to do that. It's a bad idea.
What's that?
This is just a different pattern.
You just go with the original then.
I'd be more comfortable with that. I mean, granted, there's probably,
Architect-
I agree, I agree, it's probably more maintenance down the road, but I don't think that's,
Yeah,
I don't feel comfortable making that decision, personally. Just saying.
Can we draw this discussion to a close?
Yeah,
Which means we've come to know,
we've come to no conclusion whether we're going to,
but there is time
Act on
of
this
essence
or
here,
not.
we do need to come up with something.
right, we need to act on this.
Yeah.
We'll.
Well, the simple thing, if you don't act, is they're gonna provide you with the stone veneer wall. That's what
Correct.
they're going to buy.
All right, so that's the worst case.
And that's the original design,
The original
all within
design.
the original budget.
Okay, so that's the worst case, that's not such a bad thing.
Which we have in black and white here, if we're getting into the design, but anyhow. All right, next item up is change orders. There are several change orders in there. I believe there are 4 of them within that document. If there's no questions, we'll move on to the next section, which is the
Right, this is just for your information, because they don't reach
Correct.
the $30,000 critical mark for
Yep.
board approval.
meeting minutes was consent, the CSEA medical staff leave of absence was consent. The next item is a teaching assistant resignation. Upon recommended action of the superintendent, accept the resignation of Matthew Searing, long-term teaching assistant at the middle high school effective December 20th, 2019. I will need a motion for this, please.
So moved.
Thank you, Martha. And a second.
Yes.
Thank you, Colleen. Any discussion? There's supporting documents in there, so if you'd please vote.
yes, stop looking at my phone. I'm doing it for 12 hours. We're done.
I like it. Call it a day.
Is that for you?
I did, I voted.
Okay.
Oh, it's not showing, is it a yes?
I hit yes, but yes,
Okay.
yes.
6-4-0 against the motion passes. Additional action items, the budget calendar approval is under consent. The second item is what we were just in discussion about, the capital project change. What I have before me is the recommended action. Whereas Lake Placid Central School has an ongoing capital project, whereas part of the capital project includes redoing the wall on School Street, Whereas the contractor has proposed as an option replacing this real stone veneer wall with a form liner pressed concrete wall. And whereas the form liner pressed concrete wall would represent a savings of $80,000 and would require the board to vote in favor of the change order for the reduction. Now therefore be it resolved, the Board of Education hereby approves replacing the stone veneer wall with a foam liner pressed concrete wall with a savings of approximately $80,000. May I have a motion, please?
Moved.
Thank you, Martha. And a second?
A second.
Thank you, Liam. Any further discussion on this before voting?
Yes. I kind of just wish that we would have, I don't know how it went through, but, you know, I would have liked to gone with the pressed stone option originally, I guess, because it's the cheaper option. I just feel really uncomfortable about going against the advice of our architect that we paid for in this manner. So I think at the beginning I was definitely for this pressed stone, but now I think I've changed my mind and I want to just stick with the original design. So I'm going to vote no.
Okay. So remember, you're not voting on design here. You're voting on
I want to go keep with the original.
substance.
Didn't we just say that we were going to go with the original?
Yeah,
So vote no?
to vote no?
Right.
Yeah, so going with the original would be a no
There's
vote.
vote, right?
No vote. I'm going with the original.
This is for,
Unfortunately, I like the idea of this. I want to say
Again, I agree with you, I like the idea of it, I just don't like how it's unfolding right at this moment. And so yes, I'm completely agreeing with you. Okay. So I'm gonna vote no.
yep, well, we just need to vote.
Yeah, well, but mine for some reason did not. Did it come up?
No, do you want me to vote no for you?
Yeah, it's showing up here, but whenever I touch the button, it doesn't do anything.
I have 2 votes for and 4 against, so the motion is defeated.
That's the answer.
If you'll excuse me, I have one of these to do in northeastern
Sure.
Clinton.
oh yes, yeah, thank you so much. Really
All right, thank you
appreciate
very
it.
much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Paul. Yeah, no problem.
Paul, we're not shooting a messenger, we're just.
No,
Yeah.
I completely get it, I really do, and again, my job is to build what you want,
Sure,
so
no, we
if that's what you want, then I'm happy to do it for
Well.
you. So there.
How do you really vote? Okay, moving on to emergency response plan approval. That was under the consent. The special education is informational only unless there are questions regarding the December 17th meeting. And if not, we will enter the adjournment phase. The next meeting dates and locations are listed there, including the budget workshops. Old agenda topics. The first is the board self-evaluation. Is everyone set with this board self-evaluation? We went through it 2 meetings ago. I think the only outstanding one was the 3 and 5 year or 1 and 3 year plans, which the building administrators give us each year, and perhaps we can discuss that more comprehensively after they give their plans to give our inclusion as well. Other than that, I think everything else on that self-evaluation was discussed and agreed upon unless somebody. Okay. Busing, where are we with busing?
So I provided you with some information tonight, and I provide you that information for 2 reasons. One is so that you can see what it says, and it does have some, I think, some good data on our runs, and it's a little bit more clear, easier to read, and I'll tell you, it's no longer debated, right? We were debating some of the busing runs, and that's not the case anymore. So I wanted you to see it. I also want you to know that that's what we're working off of as we look at areas for potential improvement. I say potential, I still say it cautiously because we continue to struggle with our shortage of drivers, which is at the heart of it all. What puts us in these positions where we can't always make a decision for routes and times that would work as well as we would like them to. But one of the things we're doing is we are, now that we've made our permanent appointments, which, we have really good people in place doing the work, and they know they're going to be doing it for a while. We are, Dana Wood is in the process of getting us some new software to work with. So we're going to take advantage of that and see if we can't make some of the changes that we've discussed here. We all know there's some limits on some of the things that we can do, but we are willing to look, and I'm encouraging our bus people to look at some of the possibilities that we've come up with, and to determine whether we can do it with the resources we have right now. I'm talking about the drivers and the buses, or whether it's going to require more. And we are actively working at recruiting more backup drivers, and from our backup drivers, should we recruit some, to be able to start that transition into permanent drivers. We know we'll already have one position open in April, and we anticipate more in the future. So we're working hard at that. It's just a tough position to be in for every school right now. Many of us are struggling with the driver shortage. So yeah, I just want you to know we're working on it, and we've got some information, and we're building on that.
Thank you. After-school program, you all heard a presentation last meeting on the after-school program. So we'll include that probably, Karen, in the next agenda, just to, if there's information that I'm not sure where to go with that. Or why it's here for agenda items.
They were looking to be included in our
Strategic plan.
strategic plan for ongoing.
Right. So we should note that, and then when we redo the strategic plan, then perhaps, not perhaps, we will include them. Then good cause at the end of the meeting, that was just a suggestion, but that can.
How do we want to move forward on that, Rick? Because I think it's a suggestion that we've
Yeah, I think that's a
talked
good
about.
idea.
Yeah, we can
A lot of
put,
positive responses.
yeah, we can put it in the agenda.
I'm sure
That
it'll be
would,
better attended than where we have it now. We're gonna have both, right?
That's what the recommendation of
Obviously, why
yeah, it's just, if there's nobody here at the end of the meeting, you just
Right.
skirt by it, but it gives people the opportunity to speak on,
what you just talked about.
right,
Yeah, sure.
so.
I like it.
so are we going to be adding it on the end and?
It's just before the adjournment section.
Do we have to vote on it, or we just do it?
What's that?
Do we have to vote on it? or-
I don't know. No, it's an agenda item, so
Okay.
we really don't have to vote on it.
So this means that guests who come to talk to us about something have to sit through the whole meeting?
No.
We do it
There's a
twice.
good of the cause at
If they
the
want.
Beginning?
the general one at the beginning,
Yeah.
but it's hard to discuss, like, if there's somebody here for the wall, they would, right now, technically, we would have to allow them to speak.
I see.
Whereas if you had I think we make those accommodations, but just for future, so it's a technicality, but just didn't want to throw it in there and somebody say, what are you doing? Anything else, new topics, agenda topics? If not, we'll get into the adjournment phase. May I have a recommendation for adjournment, please?
Yes?
Thank you, Liam. Second?
Yes.
Thank you, Colleen. All in favor?
All right.
6-4-0 against. 8:31. Thank you.
Nice job.
Thanks for the spirited debate. Well, it's fun.
Every once in a while, we gotta do it.
Turned into a wild school board.
I like it. Armed security officer in the school, unanimous against it, you know, the wall. Or like.
Bye, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Bye, Elizabeth.